So Visions of Mana is coming out at the end of the month, and I was like, I can't be a total noob. I gotta play at least one Mana game before this comes out. So I picked up the Trials of Mana remake, and this was kind of crazy. I had so much fun with this game. And it was funny because the first, I want to say 3 to 5 hours, I was just like, this is cool, but it wasn't nothing special or anything, or it wasn't blowing me away. I really liked the dodge roll. I liked how it was action based and everything was very simplistic and just kind of fun to play. But again, I was going through these areas that kind of reminded me of like KH2 levels, but with a bit more verticality. And then the visuals are absolutely gorgeous. Everything looks like candy. I just want to take a bite out of everything. I love the colors and the character models. But yeah, I was like, oh, this is gonna just be a nice little fun experience. But it's the way the game just has a good progression and everything that made me have so much fun. So you start out by picking one of 6 characters as your main character, and what's cool is there's 3 different final bosses, and you're gonna get it depending on which character you choose as your main character. And then you're gonna choose the other 2 as your party members. And as you're going through, you'll meet them organically through the story and they'll join your team. Now, you're pretty much going around and finding the elementals, and every time you find an elemental, you're gonna fight like a water boss or an earth boss, you know, stuff you've seen before, and it is very fun, and you get to use those elements after the fact. But what's really fun is when you get to change your class. So in general, you kind of get to build your characters the way you want. You put these stat points into any direction that you want. Strength, defense, buffs, debuffs, kind of stuff like that. And then when you finally find these special mana statues, it can change classes after being a certain level. It'll change into like Mystic Knight or Dark Warrior. You know, you choose a light or dark path, and these like outfits they put on these characters, these would be $40 as Fortnite skins. Like, they are detailed, they're badass, and for a lot of these characters, it's just like, sheesh. So once that happens, it feels like a different type of level up, like your whole party levels up, and then from there, you just get way better spells, way better super moves, and then you could upgrade to a new class 2 more times through the story, but it actually starts getting a little difficult to get the prerequisites, and I really like this. It gives an even bigger emphasis on you are just getting stronger once you get to those classes, and once again, the new skins for their outfits are awesome. Another thing that I really enjoyed is that there's no teleporting around the map. You can't just fast travel in your menu. You're gonna be running around at the beginning, which actually starts to get tiresome, but right when it gets tiresome, they give you the ability to ride this fat turtle Vuskov, and he's just awesome. You basically get to swim around this giant map and land in certain different areas. Way later in the game too, you'll be able to fly, which almost acts as a teleporting system in fast travel, but you can't land just anywhere. Still, some areas you have to go back on land and ride this fat turtle, and I thought that was really fun because, you know, you have to think about which one you're going to use to land where. That type of stuff is fun to me. It helps you explore, look around your environment. And basically, after you find the elements, you're gonna have a bunch of more bosses spawn around the map, and they're called the Benevodons, and you're gonna go find them and have to destroy them all, and it's a very simplistic game, but it's very colorful, and again, the progression is just really fun. The characters are really good too, the VAs are all awesome. None of the intro stories or the like story in general really wowed me, except for Kevin. I'm not going to give any spoilers in this video, but the beginning of Kevin's story, dude, I don't know, I almost lost my soul watching that. I also played on hard mode, which was a really well-balanced mode. It was an absolute blast. On normal mode, it's a little button mashy, which is totally fine. That's kind of just how this game is. But you put it on hard mode, and you just have to try a little bit harder to where you got to heal your party members sometimes, manage your items, and make sure that you're dodging out of the way the boss's moves most of the time and choosing the correct super moves, things like that. So it made it really fun and just had a really good flow to it. By the end, I loved this combat system, even if simplistic by the very end. The bosses ranged from ass to actually really fun. I would say the majority of them are pretty fun, but there's some gimmicky ones that are just really frustrating. And in general, they almost all have this move where it's like, we're gonna drop this thing in the middle of the map and you have to break it in this certain time limit or your whole team's gonna die. And that got old really quick. I don't even like when newer games do that. So that was okay. Some of the bosses did give me a good time, but overall, exploring the beautiful realms and areas and finding all these elementals and bosses was the real joy. And just in general, smacking the hell out of everything on the way there with all these cool spells and weapons was definitely fun. Now, this might vary from person to person, but for me, you know, the voice acting was great. There were some great moments, like I said, Kevin's intro for me, but the game's story is not going to blow anyone away. It's kind of just a means to an end. It's there to get the game moving and progressing, which I thought was fine. Even in general, the whole plot is really simple. You find the elementals, then evil bosses spawn. You got to go around. It's almost like finding more elementals after finding the elementals, but it is really interesting, and is twists and turns, and I think the New Game Plus way they did it is so sick. So I won't spoil certain things, but one cool little story I do want to tell is you could choose what characters you bring over to New Game Plus, right? So let's say I used Angela and Reese in my first playthrough and got them to level 70. When I did New Game Plus and chose a new character like Duran, oh my gosh, he started, you know, at normal level 1, but when I finally met Angela and Reese in the story, they just had all of their stuff and level from my previous playthrough. So they would just one-shot things and make Duran's level just fly up. So there were certain things like that, and these things called the little cactus you have to find around the map. This was a lot of fun for Endgame, because you actually started to get annoyed with it a little bit, right? I was like, this seems like you need a guide. How are you supposed to track where these are and how many of these you found? And then the game just absolutely trolled me and said, gotcha. And as I unlocked a little bit more, they unlocked an ability to tell me how many I have in each of the areas that track it. I was like, oh, that was great. If you're a combat nut like me, you're gonna get 2 extra difficulties when you beat the game, and they really ramp it up, and the game has a good flow to it. It's not bullshitty. When you actually ramp up the difficulty, it gets really fun and tests your knowledge of the combat system. So it actually brings up a question for Visions of Mana coming out this month. Can it actually compete with Trials of Mana? Playing the demo, I was like, oh, it totally will. But after finishing Trials of Mana and damn near having the platinum just because I wanted to play more of this game, dude, Visions has a lot to live up to. Now, I haven't played the other Mana games, so for all I know, those could be even better than this Trials remake. But for me, you guys know me, I like action RPGs, I like modern RPGs, I love stuff like this, especially with this 3D anime art style. I just had absolute joy going through this game, and in the beginning, I just didn't think the combat and progression and everything would get that cool by the end. So I was totally surprised, and now very much looking forward to Visions of Mana. I just hope it matches this combat system by the end for me. It's still not one of my favorite combat systems ever. It's very simplistic even by the very end, but I don't think there's anything wrong with simplicity, especially when this game does it perfect like the way it does, where you just keep getting new items, abilities, and progression. So yeah, if you have not played this game, I definitely think you should if you like action RPGs, JRPGs, or just watching it. If you're like, this looks cool, this looks pretty, I definitely think you should try it. It's pretty damn inexpensive these days. It's usually on sale on the PlayStation Store and Steam. But let me know in the comments, how did you enjoy this game if you've played it? How are the other Mana games? I'm going to experience them myself soon when I get my hands on them. And of course, the Visions hype is coming up. So let me know if you're going to get that day one, or in general, have your eyes on it. So I hope you guys are having an absolutely fantastic day, and I'll see you soon in another video. Peace.